everybody, welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to be talking about the Paramount Plus original miniseries, The Offer. Now, before we get into the video, remind you guys, please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, follow me on all my socials, Instagram, Twitter, do all that fun stuff. Also check out my Letterboxd, just posted a couple of new reviews on there as well, so please check that out. So yeah, just go ahead and hop into the video. The Offer is the story about the creation of The Godfather, not only the creation of the book, but also the behind-the-scenes production of The Godfather movie that came out in 1972, starring, Marlon Brando, James Caan, Robert Duvall, Al Pacino, just a whole bunch of, Oscar caliber, amazing actors. And this story tells like the behind-the-scenes producer, gets the opportunity to produce this movie and all the hell that follows with that, all, the studio not wanting, certain actors and everything. But we're not going to make a big, long video about it. But I just want to kind of give you my thoughts on it and why you should watch the show. The positives I really have with it is the cast. The cast does an amazing job. My favorite character, and some people might not like him or think he's annoying, but my favorite character in the movie is Matthew Good. Who's been in a couple things that I've seen, but I think the one I remember him the most is he was Ozymandias in the Watchmen 2009 movie, and he does really good. He plays a real life guy, Robert Evans, that's his name. Plays real life guy Robert Evans, who is the senior vice president of Paramount, and he's like this very eccentric, very weird, very Hollywood like archetype character, but I'm sure that was him in real life, but he just plays it so well, and he's such an interesting character throughout the show. The main character we follow is Al Ruddy, who was also a real guy. He produced the Godfather, he produced The Longest Yard, and he produced a bunch of other movies, but I think this one most famously is his. Although I like The Longest Yard, I just watched that recently, and it's still one of my favorite movies, football films at least. But he's like this guy who worked on TV, and now he's getting his big break doing a movie, and there's just so much studio interference. The character Bob Evans didn't want Al Pacino to play, Michael Corleone. He just didn't like him. He didn't fit well. And he comes around, and it's just kind of a fun show. Interesting about this producer getting involved with the mob. It does take place during the 60s to the 70s. He does business with the Colombo crime family, who in New York they were a big influence in the New York. The crime scene. They talked about him in the movie The Irishman. They bring that's kind of a plot point in the movie. Although that movie is not so accurate, this movie I don't think is accurate either on the death or the assassination or not the assassination, but the assassination attempt on Joe Colombo is fabricated in this movie as well. I don't think the guy who was helping on the set of The Godfather took out one of the guy who was on the set of The Godfather took out Joe Gallo, who was the guy who had Joe Colombo try to get killed. So it's a lot of, there's some fiction mixed in with the true stuff, but watching it all come together, like I said, the cast is amazing. They got different actors to play, the real actors. I would say he does a good job. I mean, he doesn't have a whole lot of lines, but the actor who played Al Pacino in this movie, he's playing early Al Pacino, so he has that very high pitched. It's almost like he's doing a really bad impression of Al Pacino. Not how what people do nowadays, where Al Pacino's like, oh, like he's not doing that Al Pacino. But I mean, most of the casting is really good. The guy they got to play, when I was looking up the movie, I saw the actors to play, they got a guy to play Marlon Brando, who has, he's in the movie, And it was like he's that the guy. Not saying that he couldn't do it, but he was kind of darker complexion. I was like, they got a Mexican guy to play Marlon Brando. But in the show, when you put him in, you put his hair back and you give him the mustache, and he does starts doing the voice, and then the character comes out, and then when he saw him in the costume, he looked like Marlon Brando, and I was like, I was at it, but I mean, he did a good job. Marlon Brando has a very unique speech pattern or very tone voice that he has, so and I think he does that pretty well. Um, you know, we we don't get much of the other actors that they talk about. I mean, we get clips of like he talks about James Caan. That name comes up quite a bit in the movie or in the show. James Caan. We get one scene with Robert Duvall. We get maybe one scene with John Cazale's character, Fredo, in the movie. And his relationship with his team throughout, his wife or his girlfriend and his business partners and his you know interactions with the Columbos, with his secretary. He's friends with his relationship with his secretary, and just the whole thing was like a mess. And it's almost like this movie was never going to get made. Like it was going to be shut down just about every day. So, but yeah, no, the his relationships with the cast. I think it's all done really well. It's a long show. I think if you're a fan of The Godfather and you're a fan of like biopics and stuff like that, and obviously I'm sure there's liberties taken, but I think it was pretty honest with the behind the scenes, information that we're given, um, and I think that if you're a fan, like I said, if you're a fan of The Godfather, I think you would like it because it's a peek into a time in history, like movies, like the studios were kind of not failing per se, but they were just kind of struggling to find a movie that was going to be popular, going to get them in the black, and and it was like we're going to shut this movie down. It's like if they would have shut the movie down, we wouldn't have got one of the best movies ever made, and one of the best. The first two films are probably people say are some of the best films of all time. And so Francis Ford, I can't think of the actor's name, but the guy who plays Francis Ford Coppola, I think he does a really good job. Um, all Everybody does a good job. The scenes in the movie, um, pretty. It just kind of looks like New York. I mean, it's supposed to be old New York, but it looks like modern day New York. They just cut off some scenes and put people in like period clothing in the scenes, and it doesn't have that New York vibe from that time period, at least just for me. Um, but still a good show nonetheless. Long. Very. It draws everything out, but in a good way. It's like what's gonna happen, and obviously like people will watch it. It's like, well, we know the movie's gonna get made. Well, yeah, but there's a lot of how to get made. What happened? You always hear about a lot of these movie sets. That's like, man, it was like hell being on that set. The Exorcist set. You know, what was it? The Evil. Like I just did a video where I talk about some Evil Dead movies, and the set. People being on the set, it was like a pain. Like they were having to tear down bits of the set to keep warm. Like that's how bad it was. The conditions were, and I'd say that's what it was here. But it's just that stuff is like it's a wonder the movie got made. And so if you're a fan of biopics, if you're a fan of The Godfather, if you're a fan of the book, Mario Puzo, the writer of The Godfather, does appear in the show. He's kind of a big part of it in the early couple episodes that they have. He's with the writing process with Coppola, and he's talking with Ruddy, and that actor does a good job. I don't know how Mario Puzo is in real life, but I mean, if he's anything like he is in the show, he's just a guy kind of down on his luck. Decides to make one of the highest revered books of all time, and the rest is history. So, but yeah, I could recommend the show enough if you're a fan of movies, if you're a fan of The Godfather. And I get this. It's a 5 star. I mean, as far as TV shows go, I mean, I don't really watch a whole lot of TV shows. Um, that aren't, newer TV shows, miniseries. So I definitely recommend checking this one out. And yeah, so go check out the offer. It's available. I'm gonna put a link in the description where you can check it out and watch the show for yourself. The all episodes on there. It's 10 episodes. It's not too much. They're like an hour long, almost, an hour and 15 minutes. Some of them, so it's a long series, but I do recommend to check it out. So that being said, thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. Remember, check out all that stuff down below. The link will be to the TV show, to the Letterboxd, Twitter, all that stuff. Like, subscribe, do all that, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.